I'm Joshua Lisle, the designer blacksmith, and welcome to the DIY powered respirator video. Right, so originally I wanted one of these. This is by 3M, Speedglass 3M G501. That is £1,500. This is the Miller T94IR, again $1,300. This is one I've never heard of before, but it's about half the price of that, about 700 quid to get one of those. And the common theme between all of these masks is that it's a flip hood welding helmet and it's a PAPR system, which stands for like a powered air respirator. It's now law in England to have a form of respirator for welding and metalwork because it is proven that the fumes from welding can cause cancer. Not only that, we live in a society of COVID-19 and it is now going to be passed law in England that you are not allowed to go shopping without some form of a mask. Now, quite personally, I don't find masks very comfortable at all. I do use this one. This is the P3 Stealth, and it fits under the hood nicely. It's fairly comfortable, decent straps, lasts a long time, filters are completely replaceable, and nice and ergonomic to use. It's still, when you've got the mask on and it's tightened up, you've got your safety specs, your ear defenders, your welding hood, it can get quite claustrophobic, and I'm not a claustrophobic kind of person, but it's just, the moment I feel like I've got a chance to take it all off, it's all coming off. Especially in summer when it's really, really hot. Now, I've had the chance to use the air respirators, the powered versions, at various different places of work. And they are fantastic. Nice, cool, fresh air constantly. You never need to take off the welding helmet. You just leave it on because it's actually a nicer environment in the welding helmet than it is in the dusty, humid, hot environment outside of it. And the price of your health is certainly worth the money that these guys are charging. However, if we could do it ourselves, but far cheaper, why not? Now the thing is, using 3M as an example, the Speedglass version, they have stringent testing put to their products. You think that people's lives are dependent on these devices protecting them, they need to make sure that they 100% deliver every time. And so they will spend a lot of money on vigorous testing to make sure that that product will look after you, which is absolutely fair enough. And what we are about to build today, I cannot promise that it will protect you in the same way. However, before I jump into showing you all of the components used, let's start with the most important bit, the filter. This one is actually a British company. So this is a P3 respirator mask attachment. You would find these on things that the military would use, or and World War II gas masks. And it's for gases and vapour, ideal for, say, painting booths and things like that. So really, all what's needed is to suck air through this and blow it onto your face. So I can't really see there being much of a problem there, and I'm certainly going to be testing it, and I'm fine so far. So let's get into the build. So I say I'm fine so far, that's because I have already assembled all of this and been using it in my workplace, and we do lots of heavy grinding, welding and all kinds of fabrication. So I know that this works. This is a system that works absolutely fine, and the batteries last throughout the whole day and then some, which is the important thing. So everything you see here you will find in the links in the description, so you can get access to all of these products. Now it makes no difference to you on the price, but if you use my links then I get a small percentage of everything that you've bought, which helps fund more videos like this one. Now there are no special tools required for this, and it is very, very simple to do. The only thing I needed was a grinder to cut some of the holes in this. So let's run through all the parts, and we'll begin with the mask. This is a snorkeling mask. They're extremely cheap. I got this one for £20, but you can actually get them for about £15. Now bear in mind that this actually is cheaper than the replacement screens for the 3M masks. So you've already started by going cheaper than 3M on the consumable parts. Now what I've done is I've removed the actual snorkel part, which is this bit. This actually has a ball valve in it and will block off when you go underwater, so it stops water entering into the mask again. All I've done is detach this. This one's got a handy clip on it. And all I've done is attached this Dyson vacuum cleaner hose onto it. And the way I've done that is a very neat trick here. This is a plastic bottle that I've shrunk wrapped around the outlet, just like this one. And for example, I'll show you how neat this is. Just by using a normal lighter, you can shrink wrap bottles very strongly on all kinds of different devices. Really good for hoses and all kinds of things. There you go. See that? So that has produced a really nice tight fit. And then all I've done is put some cable ties, as you can see. Other than the hose attachment, there are some significant amendments that need to happen to this. Some for comfort, some to make it work properly. Now it's worth bearing in mind that the cheap snorkeling masks can be potentially dangerous. They have found certain deaths of people who have been using these underwater, where the the air system just hasn't worked properly enough, and people have ended up hyperventilating and all kinds of horrible disasters. But we're going to adjust this so we're not going to have a problem, as say, and because we're not going to rely on its normal air system, we're going to modify it. The first thing that I've done is I've taken out the nose piece. So you don't need this anymore. In fact, it will not work as a snorkel device anymore. That's because this is going to work under a condition called positive pressure, meaning that we're going to have air forced into the mask, and air is going to leak out of a positive pressure, stopping any dirty air coming back in. And what I've done is actually punch some holes in the bottom here, so air will flow over my face and it will exit on these holes. The other thing I'm going to do right now is I've got some fleece to actually put around here, because I find that this rubber stuff, even though your face is nice and dry, you start to sweat around all these rubbery parts. Right, so now I'm going to get a bit of help from my daughter to sew a few things together. I'm going to stitch some lining around here, and we're also going to make a heat protecting hose for the hose. Now, when you get a Dyson vacuum cleaner part like this, it comes with two detachable ends. The other end I put onto this. Now this is an electric air pump. It's a 12 volt version. and you can see that the helmet attaches just like that. And then when I need to take off the helmet without taking off the belt, just press the button and it deattaches. Sorted. So now you've seen the pump, that's all it is, like an airbed pump. This particular one though has an extra large heatsink outlet here. Now if you run these at their full whack, they do tend to get hot. They say you shouldn't use it for any longer than 5 minutes. But the thing is, we're reducing the voltage on this to a great deal that it's actually fine for long-term use. And I've tested it, so I know this. But still, take air to caution and don't take my word for it. So to reduce the voltage that goes into the pump, we use one of these. This is a potentiometer voltage regulator. Again, very cheap parts. You can get this off the link below. Now when you buy one of these pumps, you do get a 12 volt car adapter and a 240 volt adapter, and both of them have these ends on it, which you will need. And now it comes to our power source. Now I'm using a Milwaukee 4 amp hour battery. You could go smaller than this, and it could possibly be a different brand. This is just what I found. But you can get these power adapters. Now this is fantastic because it turns the 18 volts into 12 volts, and it also has a USB, so you could charge your phone up at the same time. That goes into there. Now I actually drilled, well I didn't drill, I burned holes into this with these cable ties for fitting to the main structure. Which leaves the last but not least, this. Now you might recognise this. This is like a drainage colander for your washing up brushes that you can get from Ikea. You can also purchase them on Amazon as well if you'd like. And there's some strategically placed holes that I've cut out, and all I've done is I've literally drawn lines to the edges of the holes and then cut them out. So if you'd like to know where I've plotted these holes, pay attention now. If you look at the bottom, orientate the bottom so that the arrangement of holes forms the diamond. If you go straight to the top, 3 holes up, you then want to cut out that entire section there. Now if we turn it to our right from our left, you then want to take 3 holes down, leave a part attached there, and then another 3 holes down, cut that part out. Go again to the next block of holes and do the exact same thing. Then you want to take the 2 holes in the center of those 2 blocks and cut out that rectangle there. And now you have your finished housing for all of your parts. The only additional bits that you'll need are some plastic pipe or rubbery pipe, and split it down the middle. You could use oversized grommets as well, but as you can see I've split that, and we're going to use this to go around these holes here. Now these are going to be for your belt attachment, and obviously it's very sharp material, you don't want it cutting the belt attachments off. And then after that you've got your little straps with little buckles on. Now I actually got these free with something or other that I bought, but you could use pretty much anything with a tightening strap, this bit of webbing. Right, so once you've cut your colander parts out, you'll then begin the final assembly. So take your pump with the vacuum cleaner nozzle nice and tightly shrink wrapped on. We're going to place it inside the colander like so. Now if we take a note of the back side of this here, you see it's got a center part and these little kind of offsets. Now I've looked inside this, so I know that the screws I'm going to use are going to miss all the electrical parts, but if you're using a different model to this one, then take heed to what's inside it. But what we're going to do is place this over there like so, and we're going to use tech screws to attach this to it. Now what I want to do is make sure that those standoffs sit in between 2 holes. So you can see, not like that, but like that. So you've got the center in the middle there, and what we're going to do is get into some decent parts of the plastic, top and bottom. And what I mean by tech screws is I'm using one of these self-tapping screws. I'll use one there, and I'm going to go straight below it here and straight above it there. So next is time to add the potentiometer. Now these have a little nut, and I've actually added another washer to this just to give it enough room on the inside. So large washer, we're going to go straight into this hole here, like so. I'm going to very lightly do it up with the spanner. And now we can put the dial on. Full speed, low speed. Now pay close attention to which side is which. I know that for mine, the bottom here is the DC in and the out here is for the motor. Don't get that the wrong way around. Also, looking at it from this angle, the left side is negative and the right side is positive. So post the wires through this hole here, that square one that we cut, and put the motor lead into the motor. Boom, like that. Now you see why it's there. And with a quick test, perfect. Right, so let's do the belt assembly next, and we'll take our little blue bits of pipe. Now I've cut these to 80mm to be precise. This is blue 6mm pneumatic pipe, just for reference if you want to know. And I've arranged them with the splits at the top end, so when the straps are pulled tight, they're not going to get affected by the little gap. And this should protect the steel from cutting your straps rather nicely. There we are, the belt goes through here and then that straps to you. And the nice thing about this being round is if you use like an external belt, as in not the one that you use to pull your trousers up, then this will actually sit in the small of your back. And if there is any vibration from this, it might actually be quite soothing. Take away some back pain, why not? Right, so let's move on to attaching the battery housing. Now I'm going to take this off. And you could actually build one of these yourselves. Now, if you're privileged enough to have a 3D printer, you could get all the electronics and build one of these yourselves. But if you're like me and you don't own one, then you can certainly purchase them instead. This cost me £18, but the parts inside would only cost you just a couple of pounds if you bought it yourself. Right, so the PCB inside this is essentially a buck converter. The buck converter is very efficient at translating the voltage into a different one, but without losing energy through heat, which is what you'll find on a lot of energy converters, is that they'll transfer it from, say, 20 volts to 12 volts, but what the difference is they'll just transfer that extra energy into heat and waste that energy, so no good. So if you're going to build your own, research buck converters. So once you've burnt holes or drilled holes through this, you want to put some cable ties through it. Now with this particular one that I bought, there is a specific design flaw. It makes no difference to the performance of it, but just to bear in mind when you get one. But the on-off button is been labelled incorrectly. So when it says on here, it's actually turned it off. But that's neither here nor there. And we're going to assemble it directly over the power outlet here. So it's going to go through these two holes at the very bottom and those two central holes just below the belt buckles. Now you may wish to position yours in a different location. You have that option, but just bear in mind that the battery is the heaviest part and you want that to kind of sit as kind of close to you and centrally as possible, in my opinion. But essentially the blower is now finished. Now you're probably wondering, well, how does the filter attach? Also in your blower package you'll get some spare nozzles for different devices. Now what I've done is I've taken the fattest one and I've trimmed the top off. And essentially what that does is it goes over the top of your outlet nozzle. or inlet nozzle should I say. And now this specific filter fits directly over, and it is just a push tight fit. Now I did worry thinking, well, maybe it should be more robust than just a push tight fit, but after using it in the workshop I've never had a problem. So you could easily 3D print a threaded attachment if you'd like, or there's other kind of methods of doing that, but essentially that's it. Now you'll pretty much be able to adjust this to your own comfort. A lot of people don't like it when it's too heavy a blow on their face. It makes them feel sick, so they like to turn it down quite a lot. But also to reserve battery power, it's worth turning it down, and I found around about 5 volts works pretty well. That being said, what you don't want to try and do is to power this thing off the USB, because the USB will produce around about 5 volts also. But the reason being is it hasn't got enough amps in the USB to drive the motor. So the motor is 50 watt rated, and now if you take watts and divide them by the voltages, you'll get the amps, which comes to about 6 or 7 amps or so. That's when it's flat out. So if you're going to build your own buck converter, bear in mind the amps, because it's the amps which will blow your circuitry. Okay, so finally, the very last things I want to show you is the little add-ons that I've done to the helmet so I can weld with it. Now, it's very simple. Basically, I've detached the welding helmet off the sides here, and then what I've done is I've put the headgear inside the mask, so you can see that the straps kind of go around the mask like so, and then just reattach it back on. Now, my specific mask, the Alien True Colour, fits this nicely. Now some of these masks, they do have camera attachments. I had to rip mine off, and I'll probably sand that down, make a bit more of a nicer job with it. But as you can see, it fits dimensionally over quite nicely. Now anyone who's had the same helmets as I have, because this is essentially the equivalent to an Optral 2.0. It's actually a number 2 on the clear spectrum and in true colour. But this is only 80 quid. But some people have complained that they've been flashed by it. And I think I know what the problem is. If I just remove the screen here. Now, it has 4 sensors. You can see there's one right there. And if you've noticed, this one's actually quite deeply recessed. And I would suggest that when some people are welding, they're either having their head just to one side, and it means that the sensor just kind of gets blinded by the edge of the plastic there, which is a design problem. However, you'll notice something different about this side. And what I've simply done is I've got a clear LED, snipped off the wires and posted it through that hole. And essentially what it does is it acts like a prism, and it allows all the light from all angles to hit that sensor exactly where you need it. And I've never ever had a problem since installing those. Got flashed a couple of times, but I didn't see it as an issue, but I realised quite quickly what the problem was, and it's how deeply recessed those sensors are. Other than that, I really love this helmet. And finally, in the mask, you'll notice for the hose I've put some kind of melting protection, and what this is a pair of old safety work jeans. And then you can see on the inside I've stitched in this liner. Now what that is, the wrappy bit off an old dressing gown, and I've just lightly sewn in there by hand. And honestly, it can be a little fiddly putting it on, but once it's on, you're comfortable and you don't really need to take it off. So finally, from the amount of money you're saving, I can only see this as a complete win, and I hope you do too. So if you genuinely enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you thought. And to look forward to, in the very next episode, we're making a DIY stag sculpture, so something to look forward to. And until next time, happy forging a life worth living, and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.